It's not about getting rich quick, it's about getting rich for sure.
My philosophy is this inspires you to go back to work and create more.
It's more about how you make the money, right? Money at all costs.
And then it becomes a trap.
Money is only a tool to create more memories.
Welcome to this episode. I'm super excited to be here with Brian.
Thanks for having me, dude.
Thank you, man. We've been planning this for a long time, and there's a very special reason because you have built a very successful agency in the past over the last few years. And the last few months or year, I've really watched you transition to focus on experiences, masterminds, community. And then more recently, you've also dove head deep into AI. So I've seen this like arc that I feel like I've been going on my own journey with building an agency, not wanting to build an agency, wanting to build community, and then eventually coming to the same realization we'll talk about, which is building both.
Yes.
To have this freedom life. You can see us here in Colombia, we're bare feet.
Yep.
Brian just moved into this beautiful home with a huge yard, and everything we'll talk about today in this episode is how we really design that lifestyle
100%.
and what you see the future of business heading. So Brian, feel free to really just give us a short summary. How did you get here in the first place?
Wow, yeah, good question. So if I had to take you back, it probably started when I first went to go work for my mentor, Dean Graziosi. This was 2018, sorry. Wow, almost 10 years ago, like 8 years ago at this point. I went to go work for him. Didn't know anything about digital marketing, funnels, copywriting, anything. And I worked for him for almost 3 years. And through that time of working with him, I learned how to run ads, write copy, build funnels, do everything online marketing. And then during that time, I started getting clients on the side that found out about me running YouTube ads, because that's what I specialized in when I worked with Dean, and I made him a lot of money doing that, thankfully. And then I started getting clients on the side, and then long story short, I started making more money on the side with an agency than I was in my full-time position working with Dean. And then I said, okay, look, this makes sense to go do this full-time. So I quit that job, went full-time to start building adspend.com. And then, 7 years later, $8 million in revenue generated, over $100 million in ad spend on YouTube ads, worked with the biggest names in the industry, thankfully. Some of them are one of my best friends. And so, 7 years in the making is how I got here. Basically, 7 years of grinding.
A 7-year overnight success, as they say.
Yeah, exactly.
And so what has been the biggest shift for you lately when it comes to the business model of running an agency, and also speak a little more as well about how that integrates with the mastermind that you run?
Yeah, so when I first started my agency, right, it was just me. I was, running about 5 or 6 clients by myself. I was having a lifestyle business at the time, and I really enjoyed it. And then just one night when I was sitting at home in my apartment in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I just had this anxiety that was just on my chest. It was like this pain that I couldn't get rid of, because I just thought about like 5 years from now or 10 years from now, and I was like, if I'm still doing this by the time I'm 35 and I'm just by myself, I would probably be very depressed. Because at that time I met 2 friends of mine that were actually doing the similar agency to me and YouTube ads as well. And they didn't have a team. They didn't have a big company. They didn't have an office space. They didn't have all these things that I at the time is what you need to be successful, because that's what I believed. That's what the belief that I had. And so when I looked at them, I was like, yeah, they're making good money. Yeah, they got dope clients. But like, if I'm in their position when I'm their age, when I have kids, I'll probably be pretty depressed. And so that like just sat with me for a couple of days, and I was like, man, I got to get serious about this, because at that time, I was making $30K a month by myself. I was having a good life. I was working 4 hours a day, but I was also just kind of doing it part-time. Like I was still just kind of living life and enjoying it, really, which is funny looking back at it now at the position I'm in, because I'm doing the same thing today, but I'm making more money and I'm kind of going back to that lifestyle agency. But at that time, I just got a lot of anxiety because of that. And what I realized was I need to get serious and build a company. And so that's when I made the decision, okay, I'm going to go hard at this agency. And that's when I bought the domain adspend.com. That's when I hired my first couple employees, and I started just going hard on client acquisition. And then I married my wife, Jennifer, actually, funny enough. And that's when I actually scaled the business to 100K a month. And that's when I had a team in-house in Phoenix, Arizona, 6 people in the same room. It was like desk. It was like a boiler room, just all next to each other, just grinding every single day, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And we scaled to 100K a month. I eventually scaled the agency to 180K a month, all word of mouth referrals, no ads. And I thought I was doing it, and I was doing it, and it was fun. And that was the traditional agency, right? That was, you get more clients, you hire more people to fulfill on those clients. You got to duplicate yourself, your skill set, your relationship ability, all the skills that I developed, I had to duplicate that and train other people on how to do that, so that way I can buy back my time and focus on growing the company.
Right.
That was how I started. And that's how I believe most agency owners still operate today. And that model to me is dying. And if it's not, it's already going to become dead in the next 2 or 3 years, because the margins are going to continue to shrink.
Right.
And that's the issue with the agency.
Yeah. And so let's dive deeper into that then.
Sure.
Because I have made this switch as well to really focus on community over the last few months of 2026, because I see, okay, this is a dying industry.
Yeah.
And the margins are going to get smaller. The speed to complete the work is going to get replaced by AI.
Yep.
So what led you to the belief now that this traditional agency model is dying?
Well, I'm from that model last year to what people are calling now is the Gen 2 model, the AI assisted agency. And a lot of agency owners are in their spot, including myself last year, where you have Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini and these LLMs replacing some of the manual work that you're doing in your business or your team's doing. So for example, right, I looked at my P&L in 2024 and I saw that we made $2.4 million top line revenue, but 1 month in October, we spent $20,000 in contractors. Those contractors were obviously part-time, they were per project basis, and they were writing scripts and doing various tasks for our clients. So whenever we signed a 15K hybrid client, they would come in our business and then a contractor would be assigned to them to write their scripts and help them with their marketing content, right? Yeah. So a per project basis. And I looked at that P&L that month and I was just like, dude, those are 3 full-time employees I could have in my business, right? Or if I just spent that same $20,000 to have an AI expert come in and build an AI system that replaced those contractors one time so I can remove that 20K expense, well, now I'm going to save 20K and that can go to profit or whatever, right? And so that's what I did. I had an AI expert come in, build this system, and we automated the script writing process. And what took a week to get client scripts now took 24 hours, right? Yep. And it was way easier and it was so much simpler. And that's what I think agency owners are doing right now. They're replacing contractors and team members with, AI assisted basically tools. Right. And that's better than the traditional model that I had previously. And so I was like, cool, I'm doing it, I'm teaching it, this is great. But nowadays, today specifically, because technology is rapidly advancing, we have the agentic AI models now. We have AI agent employees. So for example, now I run my business with me, 1 AI agent employee, and 1 video editor. And the reason why is because that AI agent employee is actually an employee. It's not a ChatGPT LLM or a Claude or a Gemini. This AI agent employee is called Victor, by the way, shameless plug, shout out to Victor. Yeah. He is able to integrate to all my softwares, all my platforms, and has the entire history of my business the last 7 years. Trained on all my sales calls, all my coaching calls, all my mastermind event recordings, everything. And so all I do is talk to Slack now, which is Victor, and I send him a Loom video and he builds anything I want when I'm walking outside getting vitamin D. Yeah. And so like that to me is the Gen 3. That is the AI powered agency, which gives you that lifestyle you've always wanted, which is why you started your agency. Right. But you are still able to make more profit because it's you and less team, and you get to work with clients again. This is the biggest issue, because when you do the traditional agency or even the AI assisted agency, you're basically trying to scale yourself out of your business. But the problem with that for me was I started this business to serve clients. Right. I started this business to work one-on-one with the people that I actually wanted to help. Now I get to do that again because I get to focus on the 20% of the business that actually lights me up. Working with clients, creating content, and making sure that I'm hosting my events with my mastermind members. And my AI agent employee does all the other things that I don't want to do anyways, that I used to have an operations manager for, an executive assistant for, or VAs for. And it's like, this is beautiful. I don't have to stress out about managing people. I just manage Victor. I just talk to him in Slack, and I have 1 video editor. Yeah. So that's the evolution that's happened for me and that I see the industry going to right now, because again, like we talked about, the margins are shrinking, AI is rapidly making the cost of everything go to zero. So it's like, if you're still relying on a traditional agency, you're gonna get lapped by the person like me and you who has that AI agent employee, can move faster and has way less costs and way less overhead. Yeah,
I made realization, I believe, beginning of 2025. I worked for about a year at Bad Marketing with Eddie, whom you know, and I spent like a year just managing team, media buyers, copywriters, funnel builders, and to move a project forward, if we took on a new client, it'd be a whole month. Yeah. And then I was like, I had this epiphany on my way out. I was like, guys, I believe AI is going to replace our whole pod, because from the minute we onboard, we can write all the scripts. Yeah. Then we can build all the funnels. We can create even the ad creatives now with avatars or ad graphics or whatever. Then you can publish and run them. At the time, there was no connection to Meta, which
Yes.
now you can publish and run the ads. You can do all the reporting. You can listen to all the sales calls. You can take all the feedback at the end and feed it back to the beginning.
Yep.
I was like, this is better than a human, faster, smarter, easier, more efficient, and it happens instant. So I was like, I had this realization a year ago. I was like, man, I'm on a mission to put traditional agencies out of business now.
Yeah.
And that was the realization I had. And similar to you now, I really, my only team is one media buyer and copywriter that I just have as insurance.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I've been thinking about this of like, man, they tell me, okay, it's going to take a day or two. And I'm like, I could leave this call right now, press a button, and it's done.
Yeah.
So even they're only as insurance
Yeah.
now. And I'm like, all right, this allows me to focus on what I love, which
Yeah.
is we host events pretty much every week here in
Yeah.
Colombia. We're building community, we're hosting masterminds, and like we get to really be out on a whatever day it is today, Friday morning at 9 a.m. filming a podcast,
Yeah.
hanging out with friends. So
Yeah.
I believe that's the future. Now I want to segue then into, okay, the traditional agency model is dying. AI agentic model is the future if you're not there yet. But ultimately, what for you is the moat around that? Like,
Yeah.
why do you run your mastermind and community?
Yeah, so I started my mastermind back in 2023, and that was because I saw an opportunity to teach agency owners who wanted to have the same business that I had back then and basically be me, and there was a lot of people that were open to that opportunity. And so what I discovered doing that was I actually love coaching, mentoring, and teaching, the younger version of me. My why that I discovered before I even started working for Dean Graziosi, but his book is what made me discover it. It's called Millionaire Success Habits. And there's an exercise he taught in that book called 7 Levels Deep. So everyone says, hey, I want to make $100,000 a year. I want to make $100,000 a month. I want to scale to $1 million a month, whatever. But it's like, yeah, you want that goal, but why do you actually want it?
Yeah.
And when you go 7 layers deep of why, what I discovered was my biggest purpose on this earth was to be the leader I felt like I never had growing up. You see, my parents divorced early on. I came from a split household. My dad did his best, but I had to learn how to become who I am today through personal development, books, courses, coaching, masterminds, mentors. And so I wanted to give all that knowledge and information and skills and expertise back to the younger version of myself. So that's why I started my admin mastermind, teaching admin like me and you how to build an agency and scale and get the lifestyle that we have today. And through that process, I just loved hosting the events, man. I loved going to different locations. We've been to like 7 different countries: Hong Kong, Dublin, Ireland, Argentina, Medellin, New York City, Arizona, Miami. And this next year, we're gonna go to a couple different countries as well. And it's like, that's so fun to me. And the biggest moat to that the agency combined with it gives me is, okay, I have the skills, I have the expertise, I have the proof of that I've done it. But the mastermind, the in-person room, is something that AI can't replicate.
Right.
And so once I combine those two, it's very easy for me to separate myself, because not only am I teaching what I do and what I've done, but now I'm bringing people together in person, creating a real community, not just virtually on Zoom, which can be, recorded and people don't even watch back anyways, but in person, and you have to be there. There's real urgency and scarcity. If you're not in the room, you miss the experience.
Yeah.
So for example, our most recent one was in Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago. And it was during the same weekend as the UFC at the White House.
Right.
And we all had tickets to go to the UFC White House event for free. And we watched the first ever, only ever UFC event at the White House together at my mastermind. And it's like, that's a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah.
You're never gonna get that again.
Yeah, right.
You can do any AI simulation and try to replicate it with AI avatars, but you're still never gonna get to feel what we felt that day.
Yeah.
And so that combined is the moat to me. And that's why I love community. You can see I'm energetic about it, because it's like, dude, it was so fun, and it's so fun to do it. And that's why I'm so happy that you're still doing Breakfast Club. You're doing the one, you're doing the fountain, you're doing all these retreats, because I personally believe, for me, it wasn't the courses, the coaching. Dude, what changed my life and what actually made me start my agency, you know what it was?
What was it?
A mastermind.
Yeah.
In 2019, I went to my first ever mastermind in Toronto, Canada, during my birthday weekend in August, because my mentor, Dean Graziosi, would always say, I owe all of my success to masterminds. He would always tell his clients this, and I would always hear him say it in the office. And I'm like, dude, if I want to make more money working for him, I probably got to get more skills. So let me just pay my own money to join a mastermind.
Right.
So I went to Toronto, Canada for a weekend. I paid for a guest pass. At that mastermind, the business coach told me, hey, dude, cut everything else out that you're trying to do. Just go all in on YouTube ads and build an agency, because that's the thing you're going to do.
Right.
That's the thing that's going to make you the most money.
Right.
And I didn't even realize that at the time, that I was sitting on gold, and he was like, that one idea, that one light bulb moment changed my life.
Yeah.
If I didn't go to that mastermind,
Right.
I would have never started atspin.com.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, you made me reflect on my journey, and it was actually similar. In 2021, I had been selling cars up until this point, and one day a friend of mine like joined Jeremy Haynes' inner circle. He was running an agency, was my childhood best friend. He was one of Jeremy's top students. So I always heard about this guy, Jeremy. And I was like, man, clearly Jeremy's changed my friend's life. Like I should probably, that was the only person I knew that from my hometown, like changed his life.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I need to somehow get in with this group, whatever. I'm selling cars. He's like, dude, you want to come to the next mastermind?
Nice.
And like as my business partner, sales rep, whatever. So I left. I took a personal leave off of work. I told him 30 days, I'll be back.
Yeah.
I was like, this is 30 days for me to go all in on whatever this agency, sales, whatever I could do. I go and I'm in a room. I'm like 19 years old. I go to Jeremy's house, mega mansion on the beach. And there's all these guys doing like millions a month, $100,000 a month and up. And I was like, man, like there's no difference. So I went back, quit my job, left, went all in on the agency, started my own agency and got my first few clients. And it was from that moment forward that I realized like, wow, I have the ability to just travel, learn a skill set, build from anywhere. But that, I ended up meeting a business partner, building with him, traveling the world. And in 2024, we ended up splitting. And I remember the only thing I asked for, I sold my shares in the business for literally pennies on the dollar. Like I got to the point where I wanted to do anything to leave. I was not really happy. I felt trapped. And I was like, we had this breakfast club chat. It was like 100 people at the time. It was brand new. And I was like, dude, like I'll walk out of this business for pennies on the dollar. You take all the clients, you deal with this. I just want this WhatsApp group for free. And I want to have like full ownership. Like you transfer me ownership, you leave the group, whatever. And I saw back then in 2024, AI was like brand new. I was like, all right, this is the zig, or this is, the zig when everyone zags, or whatever you want to say. And I was like, everyone's going to chase more money and I'm going to build a community. And it made no sense at the time. I was making no money. I was spending a lot of time on it. And for 2 years hosting this event every month, I was like, where the hell does this go? Where the hell does this go? And just last year, I made the realization like, okay, I need to allow myself to, one, monetize this. I've created so much value and I've just done it for free. It's now time to turn this into a business. So I made the decision at the start of 2026. This is no longer just a free meetup. We're actually building a community around it. And so I surveyed everyone. I was like, guys, you've been coming to this thing for 2 years. What else do you want? They said masterminds, workshops, retreats, adventures. And that is what became the one, which is this founder community for people who want to master all areas of life. And I believe at the end of the day, my biggest gift to the world is to help people like you and other people reach their fullest potential, whatever that looks like. And I believe through community, we can achieve that. Because I might not know how to teach you about Bitcoin, but someone else in the community you can become friends with, and you guys become Bitcoin nerds about that. And so I see like that's the moat around your business that you've built and that I've built is we have a community and no one can compete with that. We want to travel to Spain. We want to host a mastermind. We can do it because we have our own community that trusts us, believes in us, and we can give back to them. So yeah, I want to like speak more about the future of the experiences that you guys are doing and where you see the economy of experiences heading.
100%. And one thing I'll touch on that you just said too that I was making the point on previously was why the community is the moat is because that in-person transformational experience is transformational. Your life got transformed when you went to Jeremy Haynes Mastermind as a business partner of this other person because you were in a room with other people where you realized these people are not any smarter or different than me. They're not unique. They're just someone that's done something a little bit different in their life. They've made different decisions. And because you were in that room and you experienced it with the other people and you had that collaboration in real life, that's what made it real. That's the key, right? And you can't replicate that over Zoom. You can replicate that on virtually, digitally, on a phone. You can try, but it's different when you're in real life with real people in a real room. And that's the whole moat that you've been building with the Breakfast Club and now the One, and it's really exciting. And so where I see the future of this experience economy going is it's only going to become more premium. I told this to my mastermind members back in Miami. This was last year in 2025 when we did it in, I think it was June. And I said, okay, with where AI is going, I believe that the new high ticket offer, the new premium is going to be just access to actually you in real life, in the real room. That's going to be the most expensive thing. And you're seeing it already. You got guys like Hormozy charging $5,000 for in-person workshops. He's not even in the room anymore doing them. His team's doing them. So now his mastermind, I think, is like 80K or something like that, or whatever he charges for actually him doing and teaching is like 80K apparently, which it's great. It just shows like how much you can charge to get access to someone like him, right? And I guarantee you he fills up that room with 100 people easily. But it's because his content's doing the distribution of his teaching. His data and his AI agents and his team are able to take his expertise and cross-distribute it. But then ultimately, the thing that's missing here is you. That's the top of it. That's what makes it all work. And so as AI becomes easier to deliver, clients, results, fulfillment, operations, great, everyone's gonna have the same tools. Everyone's gonna have the same Victor. Everyone's gonna have the same AI agent employees. So the only thing that I believe is actually gonna make you stand out and separate yourself is the way you bring people in a room, or the person who brings people in a room together and creates those experiences, those memories, those lifelong relationships, like you said, that you met your business partner out of that mastermind. It's like, that wouldn't have happened if you weren't there, right? Some of my best friends that I still have today, I met them at masterminds because I got to spend a weekend with them and we got to learn the same things. We got to go to the bar when I was drinking back then and, you know, hang out and do all kinds of just fun experiences while we're traveling. It's like, those are the memories I'll look back on when I'm 80 years old and be like, damn, dude, that was so fun. I just wish I could go back and do that again. Not the years grinding on my laptop, hunched over like this, trying to make more digits on the screen. It's like, that's great, obviously, and you need money, but at the same time, it's what money buys you, which is the experiences and the memories. So I believe, to summarize it, again, the new premium, the new ticket offer to me is going to be access to you in person in a real community where they can actually work with you one-on-one and be with you in real life. So that's going to be the differentiator, the people that can host. That's why I call it it's you got to become the host. You're being introverted. You got to be more extroverted, because the people that actually offer themselves as the hosts are the ones that separate themselves in this year.
Yeah, it's beautiful you framed it that way, as like that's the new premium, because you only have so much finite time. The more experiences we've hosted, the more people are like, you know, I want to jump on a call with you. I want to go to dinner with you. I want to invite you to coffee. And it's like, I would love to, but if I say yes to all these, I physically can't, which is why I host these. So if you really want to spend time, you should come to the events. And I found that I've met my most closest friends through events, like you said, and actually you made me reflect. My business partner that I ended up building my agency with, I actually met at Jeremy Haynes' mastermind.
Yep, there you go.
And it was because I realized, oh, he lived back in Utah where I was at the time, down the street from me. But I went with another friend to a mastermind to meet the person I actually ended up building my agency with. So it was like had that never happened, that's what allowed me to leave the US at 20 years old, to travel to 20 countries in the last few years, to like work with the coolest people and the biggest names as well. And like here I am now able to be the host because of all those experiences. But like you said, I recommend any person, I now tell my clients, run these high ticket offers, coaching. I'm like, guys, the biggest thing that you need to start doing is hosting in-person events. Because one, it's potentially $100,000 to $500,000 a year in additional revenue hosting these events. Two, you now can travel the world so you're not stuck behind your screen and make money while doing it. Like I said, later this year, I was telling Andres on the way here, we're going to Lisbon to run a marathon October 10th. End of October, many of my friends also will be in Europe. It's like the perfect time when tourists leave, the weather starts cooling down. And so I was like, man, how many people in Medellin here are stuck behind their computer grinding all year? And if we just become the host, offer them an experience in Marbella or in Mallorca or in Ibiza or whatever, now all they have to do is just pay to come, have access, be around us. And I'm like, that's the future.
Yeah, and there's different models too. I've learned this when I was talking to some of my clients. So for example, you know Mauricio and Brian, right? They just hosted their first in-person YouTube organic creator workshop here in Medellin. They filled a room of 50 people. All of them paid, you know, anywhere from $197 to upwards of $497 to be there. And they were able to make, you know, a couple grand in profit from the event. But not only that, they got the content, they got the presentations they did, they got the clips from it. They also got clients from it who learned from them at the event, who didn't want to do it themselves and said, I'll just hire you to do it for me. So it's like, not only are you building an asset, like a brand, like you said, like you're doing with Breakfast Club or with The One, but you're also not just creating an experience, you're creating a profit center for your business that you can then upsell people when they're in the room to other services or consulting or more workshops and events. Like, for example, one of my clients, Javier and Clarissa, they teach people how to scale funding companies, right? It's a very small niche, But they used my blueprint. Again, it's very simple. It's just like you just make the offer, create a wait list, get people in the room. They got 13 people in a room. They all paid anywhere from $1,500 to $3,500 for that. And it was a mastermind. So it's different than Brian and Mauricio's because theirs was a workshop, low ticket, volume, right? And then Javi and Clarissa, they were doing a mastermind, 13 people, higher ticket. And then more importantly, it was a 2 or 3 day event.
Right.
At that event, at that mastermind, I should say, they sold a software. So they got those people on recurring subscriptions. So there's workshops, there's masterminds, there's also retreats like you're doing, right? There's so many different models you can do. So whether you're a coach, consultant, course creator, agency owner, and you have an audience, just do whatever feels right to you. 1 day workshop, 2 or 3 day mastermind, or a week-long retreat. It's fun. Like you can have fun. There's no rules here.
Yeah. Well, like you said, because I actually did the first version of the Bucket List Mastermind, which is one of the signature series that we host in the One membership. And I did that in 2024. It was really just centered around my birthday. But I was like, what do I want to do on my birthday? I want to go to a bucket list destination, which was Guatapé, Colombia, and rent a boat, rent a finca, invite 10 to 15 of my entrepreneur friends. And I just knew inherently there's going to be value in that room. And we brought a chef, whatever, and I called that like Bucket List Mastermind number 1. Now the real official first Bucket List Mastermind will be later this year. But the concept is like, well, if I take 10 to 15 incredible people, I travel the world, we have epic experiences, and throughout those days, each person from the room can create a workshop on something, and then we also have maybe some inner work, some personal development. Like that creates scientifically a lot of oxytocin release. These people, like you said, they're gonna remember this memory forever. Not only that, my philosophy is this inspires you to go back to work and create more. Because now you see like, oh, this is what money actually does for me. I'm here in a big villa, I'm here on a yacht, I'm here in the Mediterranean. Like as a kid, I dreamed of being here. And I only got here through all the hard work I've put in. Now let me go back and do it again. And I was like, this actually, it's not like a vacation, it's purposeful masterminding. And it's the way that for me made the most sense. Now, I'm curious, I want to segue a little bit from this to like for you, ultimately, why are you doing all of this? Like, what's been driving you to create the business, to fund the lifestyle, to host events? What's the meaning behind all of it for you?
I mean, what else would I do, man? You know, like, I don't know what else I would do. Like, I'm living my dream because I get to wake up, teach other people how to do what I'm doing and do what I've already done. I get to travel to places I would already want to go and get paid to do it and bring people there with me who are already friends of mine and clients of mine. And it's like, why would I not do that, you know? So I guess to answer your question more specifically, it's like, yeah, what else would I do, number 1? Number 2, I'm having fun. So like, why not continue doing it? And number 3, I do believe it's because like, I want to be able to continue to provide for my family, obviously, right? It's like, and if I can do that in this model, with this vehicle, with this community, like, I'm just gonna continue doing it. You know, I had my daughter recently and she's almost 1 year and 2 months. She's 1 year and 2 months actually. And what's so funny is like, I just want to continue growing my family, providing for my family. And like, I'm just at a new stage in my life where for me, like, yeah, money's still important obviously to provide, but it's more about how you make the money, right? It's more about how I actually earn it. And so for me, it's less about money at all costs, more. Like I used to have that. It was keep up. Because if I don't, I'm going to lose this. I'm going to lose that. People are going to think about this. People are going to look at me weird. People are going to not take me seriously, whatever. It's like all this pressure that was other people's opinions that I had of them thinking about me versus today where I'm at is like, I have so much more peace. So much more profit, so much more purpose because it's a designed lifestyle. Whereas before it was, I built my business, I built my lifestyle around my business. Whatever is gonna serve this business, let me just sacrifice everything else. And that worked. At this stage of my life, at this chapter, let me just flip it on its head and redesign my entire business around my ideal lifestyle. And so short term, yeah, it's been a little bit bumpy. Yeah, I've had to say no. Yeah, I've had to turn away clients. But at the end of the day, the more I say no to the things that I don't wanna do or no longer serve me, the more it fuels me to realize like I have so much faith that this will work out. And it is working out slowly but surely because at the end of the day, long time horizon, I still want to be able to run this business and have fun doing it and love it 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So yeah, I have to redesign it because if I'm thinking from that lens, how do I actually want to run it? In 3 years, 5 years from now, would I still love going to Mykonos, Greece with a room of 50 or 100 people and
Yeah.
teaching them and having them all eat Mediterranean food by the sea and go to the beach, I'm probably going to love doing that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to love bringing my kids to experiencing that too.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's beautiful because I can tell for both of us, it's like, yeah, we're finding what we can actually do for a long time. I see this as something I could do the rest of my life because, you know, the old model that we were talking about at the start of this video is like, that's dying, and I was not feeling happy. I was not fulfilled. I literally got out of my business at any cost. And the new model takes a long time horizon to build, but I see it. I map this out. I look back at this Miro board once every few months that I've shown Andres. A few years ago, I said, I'm going to host events that turns into a membership community, that turns into clients and deals and partnerships or affiliates, and then that turns into investments and partnerships. And actually what's been happening the last few months is they might not be the perfect partners, they might not be the right investment opportunities, but they've been happening. They're getting thrown at us. E-commerce brands, I'll give you equity to come on and be our marketing consultant. Or hey, I need funding for our brand to scale. Can you hook us up? And I'm realizing maybe these aren't the right opportunities, but it validates we're going in the right direction.
Exactly.
In a few years, there'll be bigger brands with more opportunity to grow. And then we have incredible friends that I can now trust and call my close friends and say, hey, we have a bunch of money. These brands are really good opportunities. You have this agency that does this thing. I have this thing. Let's just like go build this thing together.
It's a flywheel, bro.
So
yeah.
And I'm like, that model finally made sense to me about a year or two ago. And I was like, that's it. But now it's just, like you said, low time preference, like putting all the, you know, the material stuff on the back burner. I surely thought when I was getting started at 21, 22, I'd be driving the Lambo, I'd be living in a mansion. I've realized that's not what I want if my peace is what it costs.
Yeah.
Like, I've been living in Medellin. We have quiet surrounding here. You wake up on a farm pretty much, and we know in 5-10 years we'll have access to whatever it is, anything we want.
And it also depends on, like, again, everyone can define freedom differently, but it's like you realized what actually is being the rich lifestyle for you, you know, like, and to someone that might be the Lamborghini, to someone that might be the traditional agency, to someone that might be the huge team, right? Everyone's different. I don't know what they need specifically, but having experienced all those things, like, you can define this whatever it means to you. So that's the beautiful part about it. Like you said, I used to have the Rolex, I used to live in Miami, I used to have all these things, and what I realized is like those things really didn't serve me. I would actually prefer more peace than I would to these things that control me, because what you realize is, and what I realized, like you said, with it, like, material stuff is cool, obviously. I got a sauna, I built my home gym, we have a hammock here. Of course, I want to enjoy my life. I do need materialistic things to do that sometimes, but it's not like a Lambo, and it's not a Miami penthouse. It's not these things that you look at and people tell you is what is, you know, happiness or success. It's like, you get to define that. And so for me at this stage, and for you in this stage, it's different.
Right. And it's like, I believe that maybe those things also become more important at different stages in my life. For me, actually, something that I talk about that people don't really know is the car community is what actually changed my life, now that I think about it. So I love supercars. My dream is to build a business that creates freedom so I can actually go race cars for fun. Yeah. You know, that's something I love, but it's not the priority in my life. So it doesn't control me, it doesn't own me. If I have a Lambo in the next few years, beautiful. If I don't, that's not my mission in life. Whereas when I was getting started, and I see a lot of these entrepreneurs, that becomes their focus. And so they'll do anything at all costs to chase more revenue. And then it becomes a trap. You know, I've worked with clients that I can't really mention, but living in Miami, $2-3 million a month, they're driving Bugattis and everything. And I have access to like their personal Gmail, you know? So nosy, probably would have gotten fired at the time for doing this. But I'd go into these people's emails to get one-off sign codes and whatever to sign into platforms. And then I'd see at the top, like, email from the lawyer, $100,000 bill, you're getting sued.
Oh, wow.
Landlord, like, you're 2 months behind on rent, 65 grand. I'm like, here on social media, these guys with millions and millions of followers, driving Bugattis and Rolls Royces and mansions that cost $35,000 a month to rent. But like, bro, your emails, people are like trying to arrest you and like come after you.
Yeah, we got access to your Hyros account, bro. We know how much revenue's coming in. Like, come on.
So I'm like, that's not, like, you're just on a hamster wheel.
Yeah.
And I remember actually telling Eddie this back then. I'm like, dude, like, I was afraid to work with some of these clients because I'm like, this shit's gonna come crashing downhill. It's a matter of when. And surely most of those guys have either, gone after by the FTC, either gotten prison time, gotten sued. Some of these people, unfortunately, I used to call like my friends. And I'm like, man, I've seen people scale to $80 million in revenue and now they have nothing. So it's like they just lost their last 5-10 years chasing more money, more materials, and in the end they have nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
The settles, your friends leave, your employees leave, and you're back to square one.
That's the anxiety I was talking about, dude. It's like you this machine, and yeah, you're making a ton of top line revenue. Again, at our peak, we were making $350,000 a month with our business. Team of 16 employees. On the outside, everything's going well, and I'm profiting 125K, right? But that has to be in the business because one bad month, and of course, I had a war chest. I had more than 6 months, operating expenses in case shit hit this van, obviously. But it's like still, there's always this anxiety that you have of like, okay, a couple bad months or industry changes or YouTube ads algorithm changes, right, which it did, and then Facebook takes off again and YouTube doesn't really work as well. It's like that can dramatically change your business, and it's like that's a real thing you got to think about. And like having that machine that you built, you have to keep it running, right? And that's that dying model that we talked about, because most people think that is the dream. Like on the outside it looks great and everything's pretty, and I'm sure, like you said, these clients that are making a bunch of money, it looks great. But internally, having access to all these things, you realize it's like, well, they increase their lifestyle costs. And so I want to talk about that for a second too, because it's like, man, most of these young agency owners or coaches or experts, whoever's watching this video in your audience and my audience as well, it's like I want them to understand that, like, at the end of the day, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, right? Yeah. And I learned this from Sam Ovens, because it's not how much you make, it's how much you actually keep and actually invest into assets, because assets will allow you to continue living the lifestyle that you want to have for the rest of your life, because they compound over time. So like, dude, save your money, number one. Be very careful about increasing your lifestyle costs. For example, we moved from Miami to Medellin. In Miami, we were paying $13,500 a month just to live. That's rent, that's food, that's car, that's everything, that's costs, that's everything, right? Here in Medellin, we pay about $9K still, so it's very, very high for Medellin.
Right.
House, but we have a full-time chef, part-time nanny, housekeeper that comes once a week to clean. That's with my kids' that's with my daughter's classes every single week. That's with the sauna, that's with the gym, that's with the lifestyle we have here is infinitely higher than we had in Miami.
Right.
But we're also paying almost $4,000 to $5,000 less than we were in Miami. Right. So I'm stacking more cash, investing more profit into assets, and that was strategic because of where the world's going, especially with AI, especially with the industry. So all I want to say is, like, again, think about what you're actually making the money for.
Right. I was actually about to just ask you this before you started going on about this. What is the freedom lifestyle for you that you vision out to set for some of these younger entrepreneurs, or maybe even older, but that have built the golden handcuff business? Like, maybe this is a moment in time when they're watching this where they can step back for a moment and reflect, like, where am I actually going 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so like what am I personally doing?
Yeah, like, what is freedom? How do you define it?
Well, yeah, I think there's a few steps to get to it, right? So for example, if I look back on my life, what did I do right, and what put me in the position I am today, and where am I going because of it? Number one, the first thing you got to do is, like, if your business is not generating at least 50 to 100K a month in profit, I personally believe you don't need to invest anything outside of yourself. Right. Every single dollar should be back at yourself and to your business to get to 50K to 100K a month profit, right? Once you have that, and during that process, you should also stack at least 3 to 6 months or even a year of emergency fund. This is your war chest, for example. So you can keep running your business, keep funding your lifestyle, keep providing for your family for 3 months, 6 months, a year. Again, this depends on your personal risk tolerance. I had $800,000 in my war chest before I invested anything personally. That was because that felt good to me, right? Yeah. But that could be excess to some people. That was like over a year's worth of operating expenses previously. So it's like, okay, that's maybe excessive. But if you have 3 months, cool. 6 months, you breathe a little bit better.
Yeah.
A year, you don't have to make money for a year, and you can figure it out. You can take a year off.
Right.
So 50 to 100K a month in profit first. Invest in your self-education, invest in masterminds, courses, coaching, go to events to make the skills you have now better so you can earn more cash. Stack a war chest 3, 6, 12 months, depending on your risk tolerance. Once you have that, then start investing everything into assets, because the assets that you can buy, like land, for example, like Bitcoin, in my opinion, or like real estate, whatever you prefer that you believe in terms of assets, invest in it once you have those two things checked, because then you can actually provide for your family and actually earn and compound your wealth over time. Because if your business does take a hit, you have operating expenses, you have a war chest there, but business changes fast. The industry changes fast. The world changes really quickly, as you can see. 5 years ago, in 2020 is when I started my agency. It's 2026. That felt like a decade, but it's gone by so quick, and so much has changed. So the one thing I've done really well, and the one thing I would tell them too, is to follow that blueprint. In my opinion, that's what I teach, because that's what I did. And be very careful to increase your lifestyle, stack cash, invest in assets, because the assets will pay you over the long run.
That's a beautiful 3-step process to really build the freedom. And I was giving this advice actually to one of my consulting clients, smart kid out of Miami. He's 20 years old. He's doing $500,000 a month with his business. And he, after working for a year, he really believes like, okay, I should maybe increase my lifestyle costs. Just telling you, oh, let me get a penthouse, go from $6K a month in rent to 12 or 15K.
Yeah.
And I told him like, I'm not going to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. You work for your money, you spend it how you want. But also understand this, because I actually, maybe looking back, I could say it was a mistake. I don't regret it, but I spent, for the first few years of making money online, I spent almost every dollar.
Yeah.
Traveling, fine dining, staying in the nicest places, and I inflated my lifestyle costs. So whenever I made more, I spent more.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, I feel like that I'm glad it got out of my system.
Yeah.
I went to 20 plus countries, and I could look back and say, had I taken all that money and invested it, I would be in a different place now. Now, I might have not had the world exposure and all the lessons from traveling. So, but now I can give him this advice looking back, because I'm like, look, this single decision to increase your cost, $7K a month for 12 months, that's, do the math, almost $100,000. I'm like, what would that do for you if you just invested that and waited 5 years? I'm like, that's $500,000, that's $1 million.
Yep.
That's what you would buy your dream home, or whatever it is for you, $1 million by 25, that you don't have to think about, that just compounds over time.
Yep.
Versus you going to have to actively work for that. How long would it take you to actively generate $1 million in take home income?
Yeah.
And that was like a decision, a realization. He's like, by the end, I probably won't do it. And I remember though, my oldest brother told me that decision when I was 20. And I went and I bought this like really fancy Audi racing, fully spec'd out race car, essentially in Utah. And I would enjoy racing this through the canyons and whatever. But I definitely could have not afforded that car at 20. It was like, I had to have my dad co-sign on it. I put all my money into it. Like the car in the end, I sold it because I'm like, I'm just losing money. It's sitting here, and I drive another car as my daily, because this thing, something explodes every time I go drive it. So I'm like, this is a liability. But my brother told me when I bought that car, he's like, this is the difference between you having this now, and in 5 years you invest this money and you have a Lambo. And I did the math. I pulled out my calculator. I like compounded by 8%, whatever, every month. And I was like, all right, he's right. Like this car in a few years, if I just wait, is paying off fully in cash a $500,000 car.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the time. Like I was prioritizing short-term gratification. So I'm like, fuck. Like now I could give this lesson to someone else. Keep your lifestyle expenses low, stack cash, invest in assets, find out what freedom really means to you, and build towards that, and think way longer about your business. Where does this go in 10 years?
Because now you have the wisdom to teach it, right? But you had to go through that experience as well. So I think they're going to have to go through it, unfortunately, because we can tell them, but some people just won't listen.
Yeah, very few. I mean, I didn't. I don't know.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like, dude, I bought the Rolex. It's like the 50K Rolex, all gold. It was my dream watch. And like at the time it was like, damn, dude, I'm about to send this wire. And like, I could afford it for sure. But even then I was like, I don't know. I'm glad I did. I wore it for 3 years. It was great. I looked at my wrist every single day. I'm like, okay, cool. And it motivated me. But then it was like, okay, this doesn't serve me anymore, right? It's like, it was here. It's like any new car. You get the new car, it loses its, perceived value in your eyes after a month, 2 months, 3 months. So it's like, short term, sure, it's going to serve you for a little bit. But long term, it's hard for people to think 5 years. We got doom scrolling on TikTok, people just attention spans fried. Like no one really thinks that long anymore. So it's hard to actually convince someone, hey man, invest that money, because not even $1 million. If that guy invested that $7,000 in just the S&P 500 and invested, and it just compounds at 8% a year minimum, right? That's like a $1.5 million, right? Like return over 5 years potentially, or even over 10 years, it could be 2 million. So it's like, yeah, what would you rather have? It's the experiment. I'm sure you heard about it. It's like
children.
Exactly. They surveyed the kids. They give them, I'll give you a marshmallow right now. You can have it right now, or if you wait 5 minutes, I'll give you 2 marshmallows.
Yeah.
And then you go with the history of their life. After that, when they grow older, the people that waited for the 2 marshmallows, they have way better, careers, way more families. It's just because they have a low time preference. They have a long time horizon. So
yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, I look back, my father was a really good example because he was an immigrant to the US. He lost everything multiple times. I've watched it in his life. In 2001, when the stock market crashed, I was just born, lost everything he had invested. It was close to $1 million back then in stocks.
Wow.
He built a restaurant in downtown Boston, sold it for $250,000, invested it, and he's like, I was just waiting for it to hit $1 million and I was planning to sell. And that back then was like, oh, I'm a millionaire. I immigrated to the US, I have $1 million liquid, like I'm a millionaire. And right before it hit $1 million, 9/11 happened, the stock market shut down. Then 8 more years, he builds his life again. Then 2008 happens. He loses his job for 2 years, and he always would tell us a story, like had he not saved and stacked away assets, those 2.5 years where he was unemployed, he spent almost every penny that he had earned over those last 7 years that was invested. So again, 2010 to 2019, which is when I graduated high school, I watched him build again. It was only until 2020, he finally sold everything we had in Boston and moved to Atlanta to decrease his lifestyle costs. But I look back now and I'm like, all right, the American dream, according to what he thought and the freedom he wanted, he earned. Like, he was willing to delay it 10, 20, 30 years, and he never lost faith. I judged him actually when I was getting started, like, oh, he settled, he could have been more, risk tolerant, could have made different investments, he should have enjoyed his life more. But in the end, I look back, my dad just turned 70 last week, and I was on the phone with him and I'm like, Dad, you literally did, you have the big American style home, you have a big yard, you have a pool in the backyard, he has 20 plus fruit trees. And this year, funny enough, for his 70th birthday, we wanted to all be there, it didn't work, and he actually ended up being alone.
Oh no.
But he said it was the best. I was talking to him last night, he was like, that was the best birthday ever. You know how we spent it? In his garden, looking at all the fruits he planted.
Doing what he wanted to do.
Yeah, in the pool, taking time off, hanging out with his friends. So I'm like, here he is at 70.
Wow.
He really achieved the freedom.
That's beautiful.
And actually, on his birthday, he's like, oh, I'm going to work. So he loves what he does too. He sells cars.
Yeah.
And for him, he's like, he went to speak to humans, talk to people, sell cars, whatever. That's what fuels him. He went home to his garden, he watered his plants, he swam in the pool, he made some food, and he chilled. And I'm like, he was willing my whole life to delay 10, 20 years. And he would always say, it's not about making money fast, it's about making money the way that's right for you.
Yeah.
He's turned down opportunities to make money faster, where he might have had to do things against his values. And so I had just a very good example of what real freedom and what really matters in this life. And I can tell the audience listening, it's not the materials. At the end of the day, having a successful marriage, family, the lifestyle you want, the freedom, the house, the property, and the peace. And no matter what happened, my father preserved those 4 things.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the audience can take away from everything we've discussed. How do you build a business, host events, build a network of friends, travel the world, invest your assets. What else would you want to leave the audience with here before we wrap up that they can take away and implement in their life?
Well, I think to piggyback off what you just said, it's I remember Grant Cardone saying this very well, and Uncle G, he was like, it's not about getting rich quick, it's about getting rich for sure.
Yep.
And there's a million ways to make money. Making money isn't hard if you're wanting to make money. You can make money unethically very easily, and you can make money ethically very easily as well. It's just about how you want to do it, right? Everything works. That's the problem today. Everything works. I had someone in my DMs, he actually, in Instagram, I can tell he was a beginner. He's trying to start his an online business. And he's like, he listed like 11 different business models he's thinking about trying. And I'm like, cool, dude, pick one, try it and go for it. And then test it and then adjust from there. And he's like, which one though? I'm like, all of them work, man.
Yeah.
So it's whatever one you feel called to do. I can't tell you which one because I'm not you.
Right.
And so the point being is there's a million ways to make money. Every way works, by the way. But it's about how you actually want to serve other people, what your skill set is, and more importantly, getting rich for sure. Because I can tell you right now, and you sitting here as well, we can both attest to this. I would have made money anyway, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm just that type of person. I just have that hunger, that mindset, that work ethic, that discipline, that drive. So anything would have worked for me. But sitting here today, I realize now it's about how you make the money and how you actually serve others in a way that actually serves you that is the most fun.
Right.
So it takes experience to find that for sure. But I would just challenge the audience to think long time horizons, have a low time preference, and you can give yourself a mission to build your business around your ideal lifestyle, right? Not just sacrifice your ideal lifestyle, your family, your health, and your peace because you need to make more money.
And I believe, to continue that point, what I would always say is to my friends that I had friends who started out around the same time. On paper, they're significantly more wealthy than me. Almost none of them would I trade my lifestyle for. It's because I see like, you know, they might be trapped with their big team in their office where they're Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, going to their office in the bigger office that they've built. Now they have more money, more assets, more investment, but they've also have this operation they have to keep going. Now, maybe there's a point in my life where I envision maybe having a headquarter, a family office, whatever, but I always said that I'm willing to make money slower and enjoy my life versus make money fast and then look back and say, I lost my 20s or I lost my 30s. And that's a decision like you have to make if you're watching this on your own, because I was willing to be okay with that. And sometimes it's not enjoyable. Sure, would I wish to have more fancy things or travel first class all the time or stay in the nice? Yes, but was I willing to sacrifice? I turned 25 in a few weeks. My first 5 years of my 20s? No, I think that out of anyone I know, I've traveled more than all my friends. I've had the coolest experiences eating on the ground in the Sahara Desert with a local that I met in the middle of a village 8 hours in the desert. Not many people can say they had those experiences. Yeah. And you'll never be as young as you are today. So I also encourage people like, use your money to do the things that make you happy. And like for me, the only advice I'd give myself going back is like, don't be afraid to try more things faster. Yeah. Because I always had this idea of building a community, and I always believed, I remember watching a video of yours where a mentor of yours told you like, wait to do more events, wait a few years until you have and that was what I always told myself, I need to wait till I have a bigger personal brand. I need to wait till I have millions of dollars for people to trust me. But I found actually my way of giving back to the world is bringing people into a room. I somehow have this gift for knowing who should connect with who. I bring them in a room. I know how to curate the experience. I like nice things. I do things in a very premium way. And every time people leave like, wow, that changed my life. I've had some of my closest friends tell me like they would have committed suicide had they not found our community.
Wow, dude, that's crazy.
And so I found like that's what lights me up. Have I found the way to make it a 7-8 figure business model? Not yet, but I believe I've found the path to do so. And in a few years, we can watch back on this video and say, okay, that was the path for me.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. Life's a journey. It's like right now, these are the beliefs we have. These are the thoughts that we have. These are what we believe to be true. In 5 years, our views can change, or more importantly, the model might shift a little bit, right? It's like the problem with content sometimes is like we say some things or people say things and like people hold them to that, right?
Yeah.
But what I've realized is like you got to give people more slack. Like we're humans, we change, we adapt, right? So it's all a learning experience. It's just a journey, man. Like that's the beautiful part. It's like the money, you were talking about this and I was thinking about this, like the money is only a tool to create more memories.
Right.
So like that's the whole point. So use it for that reason, right?
Right.
And if you're not using it for that reason and you're just trying to hoard it, that's the number one sin that every Bible and every guru always talks about.
Right.
So like, just be aware of that, but ultimately realize that you can give yourself permission to change. You can give yourself permission to do it. You can give yourself permission to go after it. And yeah, man, there's nothing holding you from doing it. You're doing it. I'm doing it. We're all doing it in our own way. Just go for it, bro.
Yeah.
Life's too short.
Yeah. And you were actually one of the catalysts that when I saw your story talking about how you were not really fulfilled anymore by the agency you had built in the past, and you really liked the community, that made me realize, man, I'm not alone. And that was what made the shift for me. But maybe I didn't give myself permission sooner because, like you said, fear of what others think. Oh, I've built this image. I'm supposed to be this guy that scales brands. What if have I built a failed marketing agency? But I've realized, actually, I always tell Andres this as he gets to know me, there's my long-term life mission actually never changed. I go back to probably the second or third reel on my Instagram that I ever published. It was right before my 21st birthday. I had just left the US. I was in Nicaragua on this rooftop overlooking the ocean, and I made a video like, here's my life mission. And I said I break it into 3 phases. 1, I'm going to acquire the skills necessary to build a business, marketing, sales, leadership, whatever. And I did that. And then I said, I'm going to build a community, hosting incredible events around the world, teaching other people how to do so. And I realized, like, maybe I'm not the guru who was teaching the skills. I do that, but I also realized for me, I liked actually the power of the collective.
Nice.
But still, community, check. And then third, we're going to use all of our wealth to turn it into more wealth, which is partnerships, JVs, investments together as a community, to then use that money to go do good in the world. And earlier this year in January, I took a trip to Syria. My parents are Syrian. Syria went through a 15-year-long war. And I had this dream. I've always seen it. I actually cried once, like, seeing it, of like going back to Syria with all the wealth that we built, seeing my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, these new children and the new generation. And like, I was walking around this town fully destroyed by missiles. And I walked into a school that was being renovated by this foundation we support. A missile had gone right through the middle of it. So the school in a town completely destroyed. These kids running on the street playing soccer now have no home, no family, maybe no parents, and no education. And simply by an event that I did in Medellin last Thanksgiving, we're able to raise some money, and I was able to go to Syria with the business and the wealth that I had built. So using my money to do good, using the community to do good. And we went to Syria, and I was able to be there for the first few days before the grand opening. And like, this school had been completely turned around, painted, classrooms, the children lining up to enter. And all that took was like $30,000. So I'm like, a room of 30 people, all of us give $1,000. We now can go change this school in a town somewhere in the world where 200 kids every single year for the next 20, 30, 50 years are going to get an education from like one decision. So I'm like, that's real impact. And
check, bro.
Check. And sometimes I'm not the best at giving myself credit.
We're never the best at that, but you are living it, bro. You're doing your purpose.
So it's like, the vision, the path may not always be clear, but you have to just move forward, trusting that, all right, whatever you set will eventually make sense. It may not make sense now. You'll look back, here we are 7 years later, that 7-year overnight success, and you're like, I'm doing it. I'm living the dream life. It was all worth it.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think that's the best way to end it, probably.
Any final words, man? Where can people tune into you and learn more about your stuff?
YouTube, Brian Moncada. Instagram, Brian Moncada. Twitter, Brian Moncada. So you can just search for me. Definitely YouTube's more active, Instagram's more active. But dude, I wanted to say thank you for having me, man. And I'm glad we did this. I would love to do more of these. Think about this. This is the beautiful spot to do it, right? It's like in the backyard, enjoying
what you've worked for, looking around at the beautiful nature, big house on the other side of the camera. Man, that's the best way to end it. I really hope that you guys got value. Thank you again to Brian. If anyone is running an agency, YouTube ads, Meta ads, I highly recommend going to any one of your events. I've not been able to make it myself. I'm sure we'll have that opportunity. More episodes like this, man.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
See you guys. Wow, that was fun, bro.
Yeah.